Everybody, first let me introduce myself. My name is Vichet, a researcher from University Research Center in Economic and Management of the French Department at the Royal University of Law and Economics. Today I am going to present you a topic related to the free flow of skilled labor in ASEAN and the employability of Cambodian graduates. This research is a part of higher education quality and capacity improvement project called ASEAN and funded by the World Bank.
I need to just introduce my ASPP. Okay. Sorry, I just need about 2 minutes for introduce our ASPP because our ASPP was sponsored by EAD that they give some money for us to create a network of researchers and also students to be together in order to share about their research, about their publication, anything related to field of social science. We are very pleased to share, and it is very great honor for us to welcome Mr. Vichet to do a presentation on the ASEAN integration and the impact of ASEAN integration on the graduate student. So thank you. So welcome again.
I continue. This is the content of my presentation. First, I'm going to tell you why this topic. Then, what are the research objectives? Next, I will show you the methodology I use for this research as well as the limit. And finally, I will show you some results before I finish my presentation with a little conclusion. As you know, at the end of this year, ASEAN will be integrated. And from that time, there will be a free flow of skilled labor in ASEAN across all ASEAN countries. It is believed that the free flow of skilled labor is good because it could make all higher education in ASEAN more competitive as well as their graduates. And the competition will improve the qualification of graduates in all ASEAN countries to boost the regional economic growth as stated by the endogenous growth theory that consider human capital as one significant contributor to economic growth. However, we acknowledge that, in general, on average, the qualification of our Cambodian graduates are lower than other countries in the region. And then some of them are afraid that the free flow of skilled labor, the regional competition, will take away job opportunities from them. And this is the reason why I conduct this research, in order to answer if the free flow of skilled labor in ASEAN is a risk or not for our future Cambodian graduates. And another objective is also to conduct a tracer survey to check the present employability of Cambodian bachelor's graduates and their awareness toward ASEAN integration in 2015. This is the methodology I use for this research. To achieve the first objective, first I review the determinant of international migration to see what factors which encourage people to move from one country to work in another country in ASEAN, to see if Cambodia is an attractive place for other ASEAN graduates to come and work here or not. Secondly, I view the data of intra-ASEAN migration to see in general in ASEAN countries what countries are the sending countries and what countries are the receiving countries of labor. And finally, I check the employer's opinion running their business in Cambodia on issue. It means that I would like to know if after the ASEAN integration, they prefer to recruit more skilled workers from other ASEAN graduates, or they still prefer to employ our Cambodian graduates after the integration. Regarding the second objective related to the tracer survey on the employability of Cambodian bachelor's graduates, I conduct a tracer survey among 1,050 graduates with 3% of error margin and 95% of confidence level. By using the quota method, it means that I divide my sample proportionally to the study population. And the graduates come from 8 higher education institutions, 4 public university and 4 private, from 8 aggregate fields of study like economic and management, law, computer science, etc. The interview was conducted from March to June 2014. It means that between 30 and 36 months after their graduation. And the interview was conducted by phone around between 20 and 30 minutes, mostly at evening time and during the weekend. Questionnaire was initially developed by Professor Jean-Jacques Paul, the former head of my research center, and was modified by adding a problematic on awareness of Cambodian graduates toward AEC. The questionnaire contained 12 sessions with a total question of 46 questions. Session 1, it is information on the bachelor's degree. Session 2, it is information on other courses. Session 3, transition from studies to employment. Session 4, professional curriculum. Session 5, current employment. Session 6, information of the company where the graduates are working for. Session 7, information of other graduates' jobs. Session 8, evaluation of graduates on their study programs. Session 9, information on the funding of studies. Session 10, value of jobs characteristics and extent in the current graduate's work. Session 11, knowledge and preparedness for the integration of ASEAN. And session 12 is about the personal information. By using this methodology, I recognize that there are some limits, for example, the limit of quota method. Because I divide my sample professionally to the study population, finally I interview a lot of students in the field of economic and management, because in our population, around 50% were graduates in the field of economic and management. And there are only 8 aggregated fields of study in Phnom-Penh, and only bachelor's graduate in 2011. So I can say that my result, of course, doesn't represent our Cambodian graduate as a whole, but at least it does provide some insight of the current labor market in Cambodia nowadays. And I cannot do better than this at the moment, because due to some constraint, for example, the constraint of time, and also the constraint of the limit of contact list, because I contact 20 higher education, but there are only 8 HEI that respond me positively. And furthermore, many phone numbers were not used anymore. Now I pass to the session 4 result. Regarding the theory related to the determinant of international migration, there are a lot of theories such as neoclassical theory, new economic of migration, network theory, and institutional theory. According to this theory, I can say that the main factor which encourage people to move from one country to work in another country are generally the differences in wage and employment opportunities, the analysis of cost and benefit of movement. For example, if you move to work in a country, you must ask yourself what are the benefits you may expect for. Maybe higher salary, good opportunity, good perspective, etc. And what are the costs? Maybe so far from your family, maybe poor infrastructure, poor environment, more pollution, etc. So the individual must compare between the cost and benefit before they decide to move to work in foreign countries or not. As we are in ASEAN countries where family the family can also influence on our decision, because we are in the culture of family. So I can say that in ASEAN, families' encouragement and labor support should be also a main factor which explains the movement of workers. So if I base on this theory sidebar, I don't find that Cambodia could be an attractive place for the ASEAN graduate to be interested in. Because here, because of lower salary, because of poor infrastructure, poor system, because of more pollution, etc. Now let's move to the data of intra-migration. According to data, it seems that Singapore and Malaysia appear to be the net importer of labor. Due to the lower rate of unemployment, due to the higher salary, and due to the good perspective, etc. Furthermore, besides the differences in wage and employment, we observe that the geographical proximity is also a main factor. For example, 35% of Singaporean working abroad are currently working in Malaysia, while 22% of Malaysian working outside Malaysia are actually working in Singapore. And the last point, it could be also the demographic, which explains the movement of workers in the future. Actually, Thailand, who will face a rapidly aging society, will need to import skilled workers from other countries like Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam, and Myanmar to support their economic development. What I check the opinions of employers running their business in Cambodia. Actually, there are only 13% of Cambodian employers say that they could recruit skilled workers from other ASEAN countries. In contrast, 60% assume that they may need to pay more to prevent skilled staff from departing to work in other countries. And the last point that I would like to mention, that the free flow of skilled labor should not be a risk for Cambodian graduates, is a sentence in the page, at the page 15 in the ASEAN blueprint. They say, in allowing for managed mobility or facilitate entry for the movement of natural persons engaged in trade in goods, services, and investment, according to the prevailing regulation of the receiving country, ASEAN is working to. The sentence, according to the prevailing regulations of the receiving country, provide me a perception that the free flow of skilled labor is not really free, practically. It means that each country in the ASEAN region is still able to implement regulation to limit the movement of workers in the sector of activities or in the job occupation that they don't wish for. So, until now, according to the theory, according to the data, according to the employer's opinion, I don't find that the free flow of skilled labor in ASEAN could be a risk for our graduates. But can be said that in the coming year, there's no any risk at all for our future Cambodian graduates. I can say that surely there are. But for me, the great risk doesn't arise from the ASEAN integration, but rather from our deficit in the system of education. Actually, nowadays, see Cambodia need to move from the sector with labor-intensive sector to more value-added industry. It means that we can expect that the demand for high-skilled staff for university degree holder, for example, should be higher. However, on average, the university degree holder unemployment rate is higher than the average. Why? Because of the problem of poor qualification of our graduates. Now let's see some results. For example, in my sample, in my study population, the median income of the male occupation is $282, with a difference between male and female. The median of male is $290, and the median of income for female is $225, where you can see that the engineering graduates are the best paid with a median of $420. Why there is this gap? Maybe first it's about the imbalance between supply and demand of graduates in our labor market. For example, according to the projection of HRE, between 2009 and 2014, the supply of engineering graduates represents only 88% of demand, while in other fields of study, the supply represents between 2 to 10 times of demand. And what is the problem of the demand, the imbalance between supply and demand? The problem is about, first, it could make some field of study, graduates from some field of study may earn higher wage as well as lower unemployment rate. In contrast, graduates in other fields may face higher unemployment rate and lower pay job. The first problem. The second problem, Some graduates, for example, accountant or lawyer, when they cannot find a job in the field they study, they may tend to try to move to look for another job in another field, for example, marketing field, that the supply is lower than demand. So what the problem is that, for example, you study law, you dream to be a lawyer, but when you graduate, you don't find the job as a lawyer because of the demand is lower than the supply, and finally you aim to find a job in the marketing field. So this can impact your satisfaction because you are working in a field that you don't wish, that you don't dream before. And the impact on satisfaction can likely impact negatively on the productivity that is a main constraint of the development of company, also the development of country. For example, I see a relation between the job satisfaction and problem of mismatched skill. For the group that declare that they are not happy at all with their current job, 89% of them are working in a skill that doesn't correspond to the skill they graduate at university. In contrast, for the group of graduates who declare they are very happy, very satisfied with their current job, we can see only 38% of them are in the section of skill mismatch. When I see the result of the salary, the 10 percentile earn only $118, while the 19 percentile, the 90 percentile, they earn $642. It means that the gap is about 5.4 times different. And the difference is also within each field of study. When we compare the median and the average beside the engineering field, we can see that on average, the median represents only about 70% of average income. What does it mean? It means that they are even based on the neoclassical theory that consider the income is proportionally to the productivity, to the qualification. I can say that within each field of study, graduate doesn't have the same qualification after their graduation. This is the reason why some of them earn a lot, but some others earn very less. There is one thing that is not related to the previous slide, but for me I find it's also interesting to show. In general, I find that the graduates who are born in Phnom-Penh or Cambodia, generally they earn more than graduates who come from provinces, despite they are male or female. Or even I take into account the average experiences and also I divide my position, I still find that in general, the graduates who are born in Phnom-Penh earn more than the graduates coming from provinces. One thing that I could explain about this point, I don't know why, but I can have an hypothesis following the labor microeconomic theory, maybe because of the result salary for graduates coming from provinces are lower than the result salary of graduates in Phnom-Penh for negotiating salary with the employers, because they move from provinces to study in Phnom-Penh, and so they spend a lot, and maybe because the socio-economic of their family in provinces are not on average not rich as the family in Phnom-Penh. So after their graduation, they try to find a job immediately as they can, and this is the reason why in general we observe that their salary is lower than the salary of graduates in Phnom-Penh, but in contrast they face lower rate of unemployment compared to the graduates who are born in Phnom-Penh. The last point, I use a binary logistic model just to test if internship, double degree holding, and parents' level of their education may have an impact on the likelihood of graduates obtaining a job after their graduation or not. Why the dependent variable equals 0 if unemployed, or y equals 1 if employed? INT refer to internship variable that equals 0 if no internship during their study, or equal 1 if internship. DTH equals 0 if no double degrees holding, it means that they have only 1 degree, and equal 1 if student holds double degrees. LPE equal 1 if level of parents' education is lower than secondary school, or equal to if equal or higher than secondary school but lower than university level, and equal 3 if equal or higher than university level. According to the result I saw from SPPS system, regarding the standard error, we can observe that the value is lower than 2. It means that there's no correlation between independent variables. It means that we can interpret the result. The internship variable is significant at 1% levels. It means that in general, students who intern have more chances compared to the students who did not intern to be employed after their graduation, with a probability of 4.3% around. And I find also that the student with double degree holding have also more chance, around 6.4%, to be employed compared to the group of students who hold only 1 second degree, and it is significant at 5% lower. And when we look at the level of parents' education, when we compare the group of graduates whose their parents, the level of their parent education is equal to secondary school or higher than secondary school but lower than university level, compared to the first group. The first group, it means that if level of parents' education is lower than secondary school, we don't find any significant. However, when we compare the third group, it means that for the group of graduates who they have the parents, that the level of parents' education is equal or higher than university level. This can also impact positively on their children to be employed after their graduation. However, this result should be interpreted. Be careful to interpret this result because actually it doesn't mean it's not an automatic process. It just doesn't mean that we intern and we have more chances if during our internship we didn't spend our best to study, to improve our skill from our working place. Now I start to conclude my presentation. In brief, I don't find that the free flow of scalable ASEAN is a risk for us, but the risk is inherent with our current situation in our current labor market, with our current education system. If we still remain satisfied with our current situation, it could be a risk in the future, because the problem of skill shortage is very serious for the development of economy. It's hard for us to attract more investment, more FDI into the higher technology industry, and furthermore, around 300,000 to 400,000 Cambodian Jews will enter the labor market each year over the next decade. So our next problem is about the job creation. But how we can create job? As we are a developing country and we have less capital, to create job, one solution is to attract the FDI. However, we can see that according to many reports, human capital is statistically significant and one of the most important determinants of the FDI inflow to developing countries. For example, according to a recent climate report of the World Bank in 2012, the low skill are the greatest barrier to investment in Laos. So I think that the deep attention to the development of human capital in Cambodia is very important at this moment. Because if the human capital is still poor in a country, we cannot catch the opportunity from the ASEAN integration. The job creation at high level and managerial level will be still continue to filled by the foreigner, despite the ASEAN or their European national. Thank you for your attention. And if you have any questions, comment, and feedback, please.
Thank you for your nice presentation. So I will start question before I have one question from the staff. Do you think that for ASEAN integration in 2018, would they give some benefit for graduate students in Cambodia? And when the ASEAN integration, can Cambodian graduate students can move to work to have qualified enough to work in other countries?
I think that the benefit, actually the integration should bring a benefit for us, but the problem if we can catch them or not. Actually, I don't find, actually there are some Cambodian graduates who are very qualified to work in Singapore, to work in Malaysia, etc., but we have a number of it, so we cannot catch them. Okay. And the benefit, I think that because of the ASEAN integration, I think that some students are aware of it, and then we try to study more, to work hard in order to improve their skill, and also we can see now not only the student but also the Ministry of Education is also aware of it, because if we don't have enough human capital, it's hard for us to attract FDI to flow into Cambodia. They will come to ASEAN, but the investment might not come to Cambodia because of lower human capital. They may prefer to implement in Vietnam, in Thailand, or in other country in the region. So the problem is, for me, the risk is not about other graduates in ASEAN come in Cambodia to take away opportunity, but the problem of limited of active FDI, and as a result, a limited of job creation.
I'm still kind of thinking of a question. It's my understanding of ASEAN, the free flow, is that it's only for a limited number of professions.
Yes.
That the flow is permitted.
Actually, right now there are only 8 occupations that we have a mature recognition arrangement. Okay, I can say that the 8 fields. Only the field occupation, only doctor, dental practitioner, nurse, engineer, architect, tourism provider, accountant, and surveyor. Only 8 occupations, but they will continue for other occupations in the future.
Oh, I see. I didn't realize that. Okay. I was something that really stood out was something surprised me was that the engineers have a very high salary compared to other graduates.
Okay.
I work for an NGO, and we've been looking at vocational training, so for manual skills, not just the higher level doctors and economists and those level skills and management. One of the findings was that there's a little bit of stigma. People aren't attracted generally to vocational training, and it's something that we're looking at how to address it. The government are currently promoting vocational training, so not the economist and business skills, but vocational training in more. But it does seem that there's a stigma. People prefer to do the highly regarded